Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 165. Without any delay, start explanation. That's great. Tang Wulin leaped high into the air and caused the pedestrians around him to shoot him sidelong glances. As she felt his genuine excitement, Gu could not help but smile wider. She enjoyed looking at his happy face as he leaped with joy. The area around the Star Luo Coliseum was packed with people, and many streets had already been closed. Gu and Tang Wulin had gone through quite some trouble before they finally made it to the exclusive contestant passageway with their electronic contestant and made their way in. They had just stepped into the Coliseum when they felt the excitement emanating from the atmosphere in the spectator stands. Cheers could be heard from every part of the crowd, making it sound like waves were crashing. The loud sound made it difficult for those who stood next to each other to even hear what their companions were saying. This was the power of 100,000 people cheering. Within the Coliseum were competition rings erected adjacent to each other, each with their own exclusive soul barrier as protective measures against the possible interference between different matches due to energy leakages. When they stepped on site, Tang Wulin's eyes lit up immediately when he saw the competition stages. Just as the competition rules stated, the contestants were allowed use of any and all abilities in the solo matches. They also had to sign a death waiver before proceeding. Although the chances of there being any casualties were rare because the referee would stop the competition when the need arose, they still had to sign a death waiver before they continued. Still, this was Tang Wulin's first time witnessing an all-out fighting competition such as this. There were not many who actually brought a mecha with them to the competition since the area available for each stage was limited from 50 of them being set up at the same time. A mecha would have insufficient space to maneuver itself on the competition stage with only 50 meters being available. It would have become a hindrance to the contestants instead. However, Tang Wulin saw a contestant using soul tools in combat. An assortment of lights burst forth like fireworks from the different competition stages. For quite some time afterward, it dazzled everyone's eyes. This is truly a place that makes your blood boil. Gu, are you really sure that you don't want to enter the solo competitions? Tang Wulin asked Gu, who stood beside him since her registration was already submitted. Gu shook her head. Forget it, I'm not that interested in it. I'm only accompanying you for the 2-against-2 match. All right then. Tang Wulin fished out his electronic card and had a look. Judging by the current progress of the competition, he would have half an hour at most before he would be called up for his match. Aside from knowing his opponent's card number as 631, he had no other information available to him. I wonder what kind of an opponent I'll be facing, Tang Wulin said with a faint smile. Gu replied, no matter who your opponent is, he or she wouldn't be able to stop your advancement. Do your best. Although I can't become one of the Shrek 7 monsters, I'm sure you can. However, never underestimate your opponent. Based on what I've heard from those in the Royal Star Luo Academy in the Star Luo Empire, their most powerful academy was the Monster Academy. They mimicked Shrek Academy in many ways. After all, we're still young, so combat with a battle armor master would still spell trouble for us. MMHM, Tang Wulin nodded. Don't worry, I have my own plans. Shortly after, Tang Wulin's number was called to enter the Coliseum. He waved at Gu and left for the registration area to register himself. Competition stage number 33, contestant number 333. When Tang Wulin went up the competition stage, he could not help but feel like his lucky number today was the number 3. How much of a coincidence was this? The feeling of actually getting on the competition stage was starkly different from the feeling one got when watching from below. When he was below the stage, he did not feel a particularly strong feeling aside from his eyes being dazzled by the bright display of lights. However, when he actually got on the competition stage, he could still hear cheers that sounded like roaring mountains and raging tsunamis before the soul barriers were erected. As he felt the excitement in the atmosphere surrounding him, even he could not help but feel his blood boil over, although he was one of the more composed ones among his peers. Thousands. No. Tens of thousands of years ago. There must have also been a competition as intense as this. When he was immersing himself in the atmosphere, a figure entered the stage from the opposite side. As the person walked onto the stage, he knew without the slightest doubt that this person was his first opponent in the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite Competition, number 631. The person was a teenager who looked to be about 17 or 18 of age. However, the young man had an impressive stature and a well-balanced figure, giving off an aura of stability. Tang Wulin had immense combat experience, so he immediately became more alert just by looking at the appearance of his opponent. He did not feel for a moment that his opponent would be one that would succumb easily to defeat. On the grandstand, the two elders sat together and conversed softly. If anyone moved closer to them, they would notice the cacophony of noises from the outside world being completely cut off as they entered the vicinity. Wushia's competition is about to begin. Elder Lin, this is only the preliminary rounds. Do you have to come and witness it in person? I see you're very concerned about this beloved disciple of yours, the emaciated elder on his left said with a hint of humor. The one who was referred to as Elder Lin by him was an old man of great stature and had a dignified appearance. Elder Lin said with a poker face and a deep voice, "A lion uses its full strength even when wrestling with a rabbit. Although it is difficult to encounter a strong opponent in the preliminary rounds, I'd still like to see if Wuxia has taken my advice to heart. He's already 18, and this is his final chance of entering the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite Competition. He can't afford to make any mistakes. At the very least, he has to make it into the top 8. The emaciated elder said with a faint smile, "You've set quite a high goal. I seem to recall Wuxia already being a one-word battle armor master, right? A 5-ringed one-word battle armor master. It won't be easy for him to meet someone who can take him toe-to-toe throughout the entire competition. Even the elite students from Monster Academy can only do so much. I think this preliminary competition will be over in an instant. Who knows, maybe Wuxia has the chance of fighting for the top 3 spots." Elder Lin replied, "Let's hope things will turn out that way. However, I'm actually more worried about the preliminary competitions. The pairings are done randomly, so if he was incredibly unlucky, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that he could be placed with the little monsters of the Monster Academy. In that case, it'll be troublesome since the preliminary competition is a knockout round. He won't have a second chance." The emaciated elder said with a faint smile, "At least that's not the case for the first match. It's only a young fellow with a very unfamiliar face. He doesn't look too old either. I reckon he's only here to cross the stage, so I think we can prepare to leave now." Elder Lin nodded. The light barrier rose slowly as the electronic voice said, "The first round of the knockout competition, number 333 versus number 631. Ready. Counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin." There were no rules in this competition. The referee only observed from outside the stage, and the match would end once the outcome was made clear. Upon hearing the announcement to begin the match, Tang Wulin tapped the floor with the tips of his toes, took a great stride, and rushed toward his opponent. He did not release his martial soul at the first chance, yet. Contestant number 631 was Ling Wuxia. He was born of an ancient sect and had entered the competition this year with the intention of making his mark with his first shot. 3 years ago, when Ling Wuxia was only 15 years old, he entered this competition. During that time, he performed outstandingly, but alas, he only managed to enter the top 64. He had been painstakingly cultivating for the past 3 years to obtain a good result in his final Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition. When he saw Tang Wulin rushing toward him, Ling Wuxia could not help but frown slightly. What? This opponent isn't even releasing his martial soul? Could it be that he's too nervous and had forgotten about it? With a competition at a scale as grand as the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition, there were many who made mistakes from being too nervous. However, Ling Wuxia did not let his guard down. A light flashed within his eyes and 5 soul rings rose from beneath his feet, climbing onto his body, 2 yellow and 3 purple. This could be considered the cream of the crop when it came to a combination of soul rings. His martial soul was also made visible at the same time as a ray of bright light burst forth to land in the center of his palm. It was a long saber with a blade more than 4 feet long. It sported 9 metal rings which had the same silvery white color as the blade. The instant the 9-ringed silver saber appeared, the 5 soul rings on Ling Wuxia's body suddenly flew upward and merged with the saber. The 5 silver rings of the 9-ringed silver saber immediately took on the color of the soul rings he had conjured earlier. A tool soul. Tang Wulin squinted his eyes slightly. He recognized his opponent's martial soul with a single glance. The effects of his soul rings were directly applied to the 9-ringed silver saber. He reckoned that this martial soul would be quite strong. Ah, such bad luck for him. This was Tang Wulin's first reaction. A 5-ring soul king. This is only the first match of the preliminary competition. How come everyone else is only fighting 2 or 3-ring soul masters while I'm faced with a 5-ring soul master in my first match? There was no need to mention the depression Tang Wulin had in his heart. However, he still had to do what he had to do, so he continued rushing forward. Although Tang Wulin did not release his martial soul, Ling Wuxia did not let his guard down. The 9-ringed silver saber in his hand slashed at the air in Tang Wulin's direction. The first soul ring on the blade flashed, and a gleam almost a meter long shot out like lightning from the blade and flew toward Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin went over his footsteps one at a time as he attempted to sidestep the slash. However, the gleam changed its angle midair as it gave chase to him from his back. Clearly, this was a soul skill that could lock into its opponents and continue changing directions as it pursued its target. There was no way Tang Wulin could have evaded it, so he struck out with a punch. A ball of white light condensed on his fist as it collided with the gleam from the blade. He was not using his martial soul. Instead, he was using pure soul power. With a soft snap, the blade gleam shattered, but Tang Wulin was stopped in his tracks after he had been slashed. His right hand was not injured thanks to the thick soul power protection from the mysterious heaven method, but the surface of his fist still hurt. Though he was shocked, Ling Wuxia opposite him was even more so. When he saw that Tang Wulin had only used his body to block his blade's gleam, he subconsciously knit his brows and thought, does this guy have a death wish? It was only his first soul skill, but with his soul power at the rank of a 5-ring soul king behind it, even the impact from his first soul skill should have been very powerful. He had never thought that Tang Wulin would only be frozen to the spot after he was slashed. In the end, his attack had been blocked. Golden light flashed within Tang Wulin's eyes. He suddenly straightened up his back. 2 golden soul rings rose quickly from beneath his feet. At the same time, the first soul ring radiated golden light and his entire body quickly grew stronger. His right arm bulged and released the golden dragon Dreadclaw. He did not release his martial soul. Instead, he chose to release his bloodline power. This was 2 rings? A 2-ring soul master? But why are his soul rings golden? Although golden soul rings had been spoken of in legends, they should not have shown up on a soul master with a cultivation base at the rank of only 2 rings. When Ling Wuxia witnessed this scene, he could not help but be slightly stunned. On the grandstand, the 2 elders who had gotten up as they ready to leave also stopped in their tracks. They frowned in tacit agreement. Tang Wulin stepped on the floor with his left leg, and his whole body surged with lightning. Under the enhancement of his domineering golden dragon body, his agility was raised to the extreme in an instant. With a single flash, he was already in front of Ling Wuxia's face. The golden dragon Dreadclaw on his right hand bulged monstrously. It flickered with a brilliant golden glow as it raced straight toward Ling Wuxia's chest. Ling Wuxia took one step forward and thrust forth the 9-ringed silver saber in his hand. Silver light shone brightly as the 9 rings crackled. It collided with the golden light on Tang Wulin's golden dragon Dreadclaw, creating a blinding glare. Clang! Amidst the sharp buzz of the rings, a scene unfolded that shocked Ling Wuxia's 2 teachers on the grandstand. They were horrified to see Ling Wuxia's body tossed aside like a ragdoll. He was sent flying after one slash from Tang Wulin's claw. The 9-ringed silver saber buzzed loudly. The soul barrier could prevent outside noise from reaching the interior, but it would not stop the sounds inside from spreading outward. This buzz, which sounded like the cry of a giant dragon, had immediately attracted much of the audience's attention. What they first saw was the 5 soul rings on Ling Wuxia's body. He was a soul king. In the preliminary competition, it was definitely the situation which warranted the most attention. What they saw next was the Soul King careening backward and only stopping just before he was perilously close to the soul barrier. That was how things had played out in front of them. How did this come to be? The Soul King was losing ground? They had noticed only the 2 soul rings on Tang Wulin's body which flickered with a dazzling golden light. Ling Wuxia's arms shuddered. His heart was filled with shock and terror. As he stood there, he felt as if his entire right arm was not his own. What incredible power! He had clearly felt that his 9-ringed silver saber martial soul was close to breaking point during the violent shaking just now. As an assault system soul master, his own strength was definitely not to be sniffed at. With every increase in his soul power cultivation base's rank, the strength of the soul master's body would also grow accordingly. However, the power of Tang Wulin's golden dragon Dreadclaw was truly frightening. It was more terrifying than he could accept. If he had not relied on the force of the impact to retreat backward at the final moment, he might not have been able to endure the attack just now. All these thoughts flashed across his mind in an instant. Tang Wulin had sent him flying with one blow from of his claw, and he was already giving chase, shooting toward Ling Wuxia like a cannonball. The golden dragon Dreadclaw glowed brilliantly. With his extreme speed, he was already almost upon him. The 3rd soul ring on the 9-ringed silver saber shone brightly. The 9 silver rings suddenly erupted with the sound of an explosion. Bang! After the blast went off, Tang Wulin felt his brain muddle over. His dash forward slowed down immediately. The 9-ringed silver saber seized the momentum and slashed widely. A ray of brilliant blades gleam flickered with a translucent color. As it brought with it the radiance of the 1st soul ring, it had instantly appeared in front of Tang Wulin. A silver ring buzzed at the 3rd soul skill. Ling Wuxia had used it to defeat countless experts before this. Who could have thought that he who had a saber-type soul tool would possess a soundwave-type soul skill? This soul skill was impossible to guard against. It stunned his opponent by attacking their souls directly. He would then follow it up with his 1st soul skill, as it had the shortest activation time. The 2 soul skills complemented each other. Tang Wulin bit on the tip of his tongue. He used the stinging pain to regain some of his senses. The blade's gleam was already closing in, and he had no way of dodging it. The golden dragon Dreadclaw slashed at the air. As it followed the trajectory of the blade's gleam, the tips of the claw flickered with golden light. Most of the blade's gleam was blocked by his counterattack, but some of it still landed on his left shoulder with a soft sound. Tang Wulin's body was sent rolling sideways. He fell to the ground, unable to continue his pursuit of Ling Wuxia. Ling Wuxia's expression changed slightly. He had gained some advantage with this slash, but the end result was not as effective as he had pictured it to be. The silver ring cry had the best effects when it was first used because it would catch his opponent off guard. When his opponent was prepared for the attack and had reached a certain level of spiritual power, the effects would not be that great. The 2 opponents looked at each other. After the initial probing, they had some understanding about each other already. Tang Wulin moved his left shoulder about slightly. He had been hit by the remaining blade's gleam, but in truth he was uninjured. The domineering golden dragon body's defensive powers were unbelievable, especially after he trained using the body sect's extreme methods. It would not be too presumptuous to refer to his body as a human weapon. Densely packed blade gleams enlarged in front of his eyes. Ling Wuxia had taken the initiative to attack. His footing was sure and steady as he made slash after slash. The blade gleams were thick and did not disperse. They formed a large net in the air and flew forth to cover Tang Wulin, sealing off all possible escape routes. Compared to before, his current blade gleams were even more powerful. He had obviously put more soul power into this attack. After their collision just now, Ling Wuxia did not dare underestimate Tang Wulin by even an ounce. Tang Wulin tapped on the floor with the tips of his toes and reversed his blood essence. An excited dragon's roar sounded from his body after that. The sudden loud and clear dragon's roar had amplified his imposing manner. He pointed his palms toward the skies, and a golden dragon head appeared. The blade gleams landed on the dragon's head and shattered. They did nothing to weaken the dragon's head even by a little. The glow of the dragon's head had actually grown in brilliance. A chill ran down Long Wuxie's heart. Amidst the shift in the surrounding atmosphere, he had started to feel that things were not in his favor. Although his opponent only had 2 soul rings, his overall attack strength was too powerful. The blade net was torn to pieces in an instant by the golden dragon shocks the heavens. Ding! The silver ring cry rang out again. Not only could this soul skill be used in a surprise attack, it also had the miraculous effect of cutting his opponent's soul skill short. Unfortunately, Ling Wuxie clearly saw that though Tang Wulin's gaze had wavered for a moment, his attack showed no signs of weakening. Indeed, it was intensifying. The golden dragon shocks the heavens was not a soul skill, but a blood essence skill. The attack, born from the reversal of his blood essence, had emerged following the change to his bloodline. His bloodline had already been urged into action. Unless Tang Wulin stopped the attack of his own accord, the release of his skill would not be hindered, even if he lost control of it momentarily. As the golden dragon's head rushed toward Ling Wuxie, his expression was grave. He grabbed the tip of the 9-ringed silver saber with his left hand and pushed the hilt outward with his right hand. He positioned the 9-ringed silver saber horizontally in front of himself as if it was a shield. The 4th soul ring on his body glowed brightly. Boom! When he saw that his disciple had reacted quickly and used his 4th soul skill, Hidden Edge Stance, the elder on the spectator's stand nodded with satisfaction. That was the correct response. But in the next moment, his expression had already changed greatly. 9-ringed silver saber vibrated and buzzed. Although it had already formed a wall of silver light and blocked the impact of the golden dragon head, the counterattack of Hidden Edge Stance had not even appeared. Ling Wuxie's body was once again sent flying by the force of the collision. He was already spitting out fresh blood out in the air. What background did that young boy with 2 golden soul rings have? And what was his martial soul? These questions arose in the hearts of countless crowd members as they watched the battle. The number of people who had their attention on this competition had increased. Ling Wuxie was having the most profound feeling. The Hidden Edge Stance could draw out his greatest defensive power. When the 9-ringed silver saber's defensive ability was at its peak, it would launch its most powerful attack with. This was a powerful soul skill which combined both offense and defense. If this skill was used properly, it could be an ingenious maneuver that could turn the tide of battle. But he had never expected that the giant dragon head would collide with such devastating force. It was beyond what he could bear. The Hidden Edge Stance had not even brought out its full power before it was utterly destroyed. He felt as if he was rammed head-on by a soul train. His inside seemed to be on fire, and he had already been heavily injured. He had no other choice. As he was flying backward through the air, Ling Wuxie stretched out both of his arms. Rays of light swiftly shot out of the bracelets on his wrists and transformed into battle armor covering his body. The bright silver armor quickly merged together and covered his body in an instant. The precise moment when the breastplate fused together on his chest, a beam of silver light shot toward the sky. The light instantly steadied his body so that he was on his feet, no longer being tossed backward. One-word battle armor. A full set of one-word battle armor. The instant the silver light appeared, Tang Wulin had felt that this turn of events was far from reassuring. In terms of personal strength, he was confident enough to fight any opponent whether they had 4 rings or 5. The only thing he feared was if his opponent was already in possession of a full set of one-word battle armor. The difference one-word battle armor made to Soul Masters was truly overwhelming. When Yi Xinglan, whose personal combat strength was certainly not inferior to Tang Wulin's, had first gone up against a one-word battle armor master, she only managed to weaken her opponent after using a method that was akin to a suicide attack. Hence, when Tang Wulin saw the one-word battle armor releasing from Ling Wuxie's body, the first thought that occurred to him was that there was no way he could allow him to completely unleash the full power of the armor. Otherwise, he would not have even the slightest of chances. The sonorous dragon's roar erupted from Tang Wulin's body again. As the golden dragon shocks the heavens sent his opponent flying, he was already closing in for a follow-up attack. While Ling Wuxie was releasing his battle armor, Tang Wulin's Golden Dragon Dreadclaw on his right hand had already swung toward his opponent. The 5 dark golden blades of light enlarged instantly. They transformed into a massive claw which brazenly struck at its target. Although Ling Wuxie had the protection of his battle armor right now, the feeling as if he was burning from the inside which had been brought about by the impact of Golden Dragon shocks the heavens had still not subsided. He was just about to take a breather and launch a counterattack with the help of his battle armor when the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw was already upon him. The 9-ring silver saber was positioned horizontally in front of him, but he could not utilize his soul skill in time. Ling Wuxie's soul power within his body was scattered, and he needed time to adjust it. Boom! An intense explosion followed the impact between the dark golden glow and the bright silver shine. The Golden Dragon Dreadclaw was Tang Wulin's most powerful attack. Under its full strength, its offensive power that was unbelievable. The Dusk Gold Dreadclaw Bear was already an extremely terrifying creature in the world of soul beasts. Additionally, Tang Wulin had the enhancement from his Golden Dragon King bloodline. The battle armor creaked with a sound that made one's teeth feel sore. The attack caused the 9-ring silver saber to hit Ling Wuxie's chest. If he had not been wearing a complete set of battle armor, which had enhanced the 9-ring silver saber, he reckoned that this hit would have torn the 9-ring silver saber into pieces. The terrifying power of the attack was completely borne by the one-word battle armor. It was battle armor after all. Even the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw could not break its defenses. However, the immense force had left 5 deep gouges on Ling Wuxie's battle armor. His entire body was sent flying and he crashed into the stage's barrier. This time, it was a heavy crash. Even with the protection of his battle armor, Ling Wuxie still felt disoriented. His entire body rebounded back to the stage after he collided with the barrier. Tang Wulin had already followed up by then. He seized the opportunity before his opponent had time to react. He made a fist with his Golden Dragon Dreadclaw and landed a full-force punch on his opponent's belly. He sent his opponent crashing into the barrier like a cannonball. A thick dark blue vine appeared and twined itself around Ling Wuxie's ankle. The vine swung and lifted Ling Wuxie as he was making his way back onto the stage and smashed his body onto the floor with a loud crash. Tang Wulin moved like a shadow as he gave chase to Ling Wuxie until he finally reached his side. In the instant when his body crashed onto the floor, the exuberant dragon's roar sounded again. He stomped his right foot mercilessly on the floor. 8 dragon-shaped forms of energy gathered together and pounded on Ling Wuxie's body, which tossed him around as he lay on the floor. A golden dragon head appeared again for the Golden Dragon shocks the heavens. Roar! In an instant, Ling Wuxie seemed to be swallowed whole by the giant golden dragon head. His body was hit by a cacophonous barrage of explosions. From when Ling Wuxie was first sent flying by Tang Wulin's first Golden Dragon shocks the heavens until the following attacks, all of them happened seamlessly. The continuous stream of attacks had dazzled the audience's eyes as they stared with their mouths agape. This, however, that was a one-word battle armor master, 5-ring Soul King. Why was he nothing but target practice for that young boy who only had 2 soul rings? Ling Wuxie himself, who was flying through the air, also could not understand it. He felt as if all his joints were dislocated. His battle armor had helped him bear the brunt of the attacks, but the force from the impact still got to him. It shook him so much that his soul power could not condense from the very beginning, and he could not truly utilize the battle armor's powers. Tang Wulin seemed to have leaped into the sky with his opponent's body. The Golden Dragon Dreadclaw clutched his opponent's neck. On the sharp edges of the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw, dark golden light blades shone brightly. He seized his opponent's body midair and smashed him onto the floor. Yield! The terrifying energy from the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw rubbed against the weak joint of the neck battle armor. Tang Wulin knelt with his knees on Ling Wuxie's belly and once again dispersed his soul power that was only beginning to condense. The stabbing pain that came from his neck was excruciating. Ling Wuxie had felt a danger of dying in an instant. Even the protection of one-word battle armor had its limits. After Tang Wulin's combo attack just now, its defensive capabilities were greatly worn down. When it was faced with the Golden Dragon Dreadclaw at point-blank range, it was already at its limits. Tap! Tap! Ling Wuxie smacked the floor, gesturing that he conceded defeat. Tang Wulin leaped upward. He retracted the Golden Dragon Claw on his right hand and stood firmly on the floor. On the spectators' stands, there was already a clamor. For the two elders of Ling Wuxie, other than staring with their mouths agape, their expressions were so gloomy that they seemed to be almost dripping with water. With their cultivation bases, they could tell that Ling Wuxie with his one-word battle armor certainly had the ability to defeat his opponent. But his opponent had not given him a chance to unleash the powers of his one-word battle armor before he ended the battle. From the beginning until the end, the rhythm of the battle was under the control of the opponent. That was truly frightening. He lost. He lost in the very first round? This also meant that he was eliminated from the competition. The final opportunity for Ling Wuxie to take part in the Continental Yun high-ranking Soul Masters Elite competition was lost just like this. How could this not make them shocked and enraged? Ling Wuxie lay on the floor, his mind completely blank. There were no more external pressures. His battle armor started to give feedback to his body. It helped him organize his soul power and made adjustments to his body. However, the physical pain was secondary to the blow he had taken to his mentality. He lost, just like that, in a baffling manner. If he had released his battle armor from the moment he had stepped onto the stage and not given his opponent the chance to close ranks with him, things would not have turned out this way. Even the lion uses its full strength when it wrestled with a rabbit. His teacher's words echoed in his mind. He was filled with regrets. He regretted underestimating Tang Wulin in the beginning. He had regretted not being able to unleash his fifth soul skill from the beginning until the end. Nevertheless, in this world, there was no medicine for regret. Nobody had ever pitied the losers. He had lost and thus was already eliminated. He was a loser. Tang Wulin was panting slightly. In truth, the pressure that he was bearing just now was also just as great. The recoil from striking the one-word battle armor had been very uncomfortable for him. The enhancement of a full set of battle armor on a Soul Master was truly overwhelming. If the Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens had not dealt a great blow to his opponent immediately, which was followed up by his seamless combined strikes, and he had given his opponent the chance to regain his bearings, what he would have faced was an opponent close to the rank of a 7-ring Soul Saint. If he fought 7 rings with 4 rings, even if he had the stronger body, he would be hard-pressed to defeat his opponent. Losing in the first match would have been dreadfully embarrassing. Fortunately, there was no need for second-guessing. He had won, very happily. The series of combo attacks just now had improved his actual battle strength somewhat. He had merged the potential stimulated by the body sect and his own strengths together. Of course, if his opponent had unleashed the full strength of a one-word battle armor master, it would not have been as if Tang Wulin had absolutely no chance of winning. He still had the Blue-Silver Emperor, as well as Gold Song and the Overlord Dragon. Tang Wulin leaped down the competition stage and swiftly ran into the contestants' passageway. He had no intention of becoming the center of the crowd's attention. That was great. Jiuyu's voice came from beside him. Tang Wulin turned to look. She was already waiting for him here. Tang Wulin smiled wryly. This luck of mine has been absolutely wonderful. I hope this won't happen again. It's a lot of pressure to go up against a one-word battle armor master. Jiuyu smiled. You haven't used your battle armor yet, have you? Xinglan hasn't even managed to produce her own core battle armor and yet, she's already helping others in making theirs. Your re-brace should be completed soon. Tang Wulin's eyes brightened. His first piece of battle armor was on the right hand and forearm, then followed by this piece of re-brace battle armor connecting from his arm to shoulder. Now, his right arm would have a set of completed battle armor when this piece was finally complete. The Golden Dragon Claw on his right hand was undoubtedly his strongest offensive point. The presence of completed battle armor would only heighten his abilities to new heights, and this would give him a better chance when he faced battle armor masters in the future. Let's go, Jiuyu said to him as she made the first move to walk outside. Tang Wulin followed behind with quick strides. The battle today was beneficial to him. He would only continue contemplating the matter after he returned. Ling Wuxie stood up with great effort as he descended the stage like a dead man. He could clearly see the deep scratches left behind by Tang Wulin when he took the pieces of battle armors off his body. His chest and abdominal armor were the most severely damaged, and he would need a mecha mechanics repairing skills to restore the armors. To top it all off, repairing a one-word battle armor was an extremely expensive affair. The color of his face was ghastly pale, and his entire being seemed to have been beaten out of his senses. Discouraged, a low and aged voice echoed from the corner. Ling Wuxie raised his head abruptly and looked in the direction of the echoing voice. He called out with a hoarse voice, "Teacher." The old man walked in front of him before raising his hand to give Ling Wuxie a ferocious slap. The strong pain that radiated from his face seemed to have awakened Ling Wuxie from the very core of his being. "Are you discouraged?" The old man's voice was filled with sternness. "I'm not." Ling Wuxie grasped his fists tightly as tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. The old man raised his hand once again, but just as Ling Wuxie, though he was about to be struck again, the old man wrapped his strong arms around his disciple, cradling him. His voice sounded low yet bold. "Remember, this is among many of the humiliations you'll face in your lifetime. In order to wash it away, you'll have to make sure you become stronger. Don't look for any excuses. You've lost. It's not terrifying to lose, and it's nothing if you're eliminated. Most importantly, you'll have to identify the reason why you lost the match along with your inadequacy. You didn't lose because of your failure at showing your strength, but because your opponent did not afford you that opportunity. You lack tactical combat experience, so I'm bringing you to Hell Valley next. You'll properly train yourself there so you can fight for the day you'll wash away the humiliation you've faced today. When, and only when you've done that, will you be able to wash away the humiliation you've suffered today. If you can do that, that'll be when you'll become a true powerhouse. Teacher?" News of the elimination of a one-word battle armor master, five-ringed Soul King, soon made its way through the entire arena. However, this made everyone feel depressed because the youth that had initially created a miracle earlier had now disappeared. Only a small amount of people knew about his contestant number, 333. The first batch of opponents for Tang Wulin's companions were all very weak except for the one he fought. Everyone passed the match with ease aside from Xu Lixi and Ji Yu, who did not participate in the one-against-one match. Still, Tang Wulin's experience fighting a one-word battle armor master reminded everyone that the Soul Masters on the Star Luo continent were definitely comparable to those on the Doluo continent, judging by their combat abilities. The Star Luo Empire that advocates individual heroism spared no effort when it came to cultivating one's individual strength. For Tang Wulin to be able to triumph over a one-word battle armor master in a match against each other was an astonishing feat in itself. Wu Zhangkong's expression appeared a little less cold when he finished his meal. In fact, the way he looked at Tang Wulin now made it seem as if he was exceptionally satisfied with his performance. It was simply unbelievable that a four-ring boy was capable of defeating a one-word battle armor master. "Captain, come over to my room later." Yi Xinglan left these words behind before she left after finishing her dinner. Xie Xie and Yu Jingyu's gazes turned peculiar as they fell upon Tang Wulin. "What are the both of you looking at?" Tang Wulin said in an unpleasant tone. Xu Lixi spoke shyly. "The captain's second piece of battle armor is about to be complete. Sister Xinglan is inviting him over to complete the battle armor." "The second piece of battle armor is completed? Then should the next piece she produces be ours then?" Xie Xie was immediately overjoyed with the idea. Xu Lixi spoke in apparent seriousness. Yours is the last one to be complete. I remembered that gaze of yours earlier very clearly. I'm going to tell Sister Xinglan about it tomorrow." "Lixi, are you looking to get slapped?" Xie Xie rubbed his palms together as he gathered himself forward. Tang Wulin stood up and placed a hand on Xie Xie's shoulder. Then, he turned around and asked Xu Lixi, "Do you want to beat him up?" Xu Lixi laughed shyly and stood up. "Captain, beating someone up is not that nice. Why don't you keep him there? I'll jump up and sit on him before we call this even." "Oh?" How could Tang Wulin possibly not anticipate his battle armor when it had been so long since he had obtained his first piece? It was a huge loss for him to fight against a battle armor master without a set to call his own. It was his dream to become a battle armor master. Tang Wulin had already thought of a name for his battle armor earlier. He was going to name it Dragon. He could name it when he was done gathering a full set of battle armor. Undoubtedly, it was the Golden Dragon King bloodline that helped him accomplish all the things he had today. Even if he were to train any harder, he would never possibly possess the powers he had today without the energy that originated from the depths of his bloodline. This was the reason why he wanted to name his one-word battle armor Dragon. He would add the word Golden in the future. Perhaps his two-word battle armor would be named Golden Dragon or something along those lines. He ate his dinner quickly, and Xie seized the opportunity to flee when Tang Wulin was not paying attention to him. Later, Tang Wulin went over to Yi Xinglan's room while the others returned to their respective rooms. Yi Xinglan invited him into her room. The materials have been prepared earlier, we're going to complete the final production process today. Yi Xinglan pointed to an object placed on the table in her living room. Tang Wulin's eyes immediately gleamed when he saw what it was. Instead of a pauldron carrying about a brace, he saw both parts connected as one. The connection between both parts was sealed with an ingeniously made soul circuit which would not affect one's agility at all. This was designed by Guu for Tang Wulin, while the form of the battle armor was designed by Tang Wulin himself. The soul circuits and engravings that came after were the handiwork of none other than Yi Xinglan. She was already capable of producing battle armor in stages following the elevation in her cultivation base and a thorough analysis of battle armor production. There was no need for her to produce them in one go any longer. Producing all of them in one go was truly a difficult feat for her. Moreover, the results would not necessarily be the best. Now, she was capable of engraving a simplified soul circuit before she would complete the process altogether. Without a doubt, the piece before his eyes that was shimmering with a faint glimmer of starlight had gone through all the necessary preparatory steps. The only thing it lacked was the final production process to complete it. Tang Wulin looked toward Yi Xinglan as she nodded. We'll begin then. Get ready. All right. Tang Wulin answered, then he backed several steps away. Yi Xinglan walked and stood before the table. The glimmer of starlight seemed to glow on her body in that split second as the Star God sword fell into her hand. Soon, the specks of light on her body glowed as pieces of battle armor shimmered with starlight before swiftly covering her body. Yi Xinglan's battle armor was engraved with star-shaped striations that were different from Tang Wulin's. Her battle armor appeared to be thinner because she was seeking agility. This was so her battle armor could completely fuse with her body. A gush of her sword's consciousness condensed and gushed out. However, it did not spread but only condensed onto the Star God sword. It was only by witnessing it up close that Tang Wulin could clearly sense the horror contained within its consciousness. Not only was he improving, but his companions were all improving as well. In fact, Yi Xinglan was even stronger now. Tang Wulin was not so certain that he could triumph over Yi Xinglan if they went toe-to-toe. It was not only because of her battle armor but her focus as well. Tang Wulin had known all along that he was not the strongest within the little group they had in Shrek Academy. Guu was probably the strongest one, followed by Yi Xinglan, Yuan and Yehue before he came into the picture. Then, there was Yu Zhenyu, Xie, and Xu Xiaoyan. Xu Lizhu was left out because he was an auxiliary system soul master. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.